What's good? It's Woog. We're now several days removed from Andy Ruiz's shocking upset win over Anthony Joshua. Props to the new champ. Devastating loss for Joshua. We'll get into his decision to agree to an immediate rematch as well, but I'll start with this. Several people are talking like Joshua somehow got exposed as a fraud or that he's not half the fighter the boxing public thought he was. One, that's a discredit to Andy Ruiz, whose only loss is to Joseph Parker, a very good fighter, in a fight that could have gone either way on the judges' cards. And two, you don't win an Olympic gold medal and then go on to win your first 15 pro fights, including a knockout of Dylan White, go look him up, then win a world title, defending it successfully twice, then win 2 more belts by TKOing an all-time great, Vladimir Klitschko, in a fight where Joshua also hit the canvas, then defend those 3 titles successfully versus Carlos Takam, Joseph Parker, and Alexander Povetkin. You don't do all those things unless you're a special fighter, especially with all of the press and the pressure that he's faced over the past couple of years. Anthony Joshua is the real deal, and anytime he's letting his hands go, he's got a real shot at knocking someone the hell out. He has power in both hands and can throw a variety of punches with either. Now, Ruiz was afforded this opportunity on short notice after Joshua's scheduled opponent, Jarrell Big Baby Miller, got busted for performance-enhancing drugs, and Ruiz supposedly engaged Eddie Hearn, Joshua's promoter, on Instagram while Team Joshua was scrambling to find not only a replacement opponent, but a solid, reputable one to make his U.S. debut more meaningful and legit. If you ask me, Eddie Hearn and Team Joshua didn't do their homework and might have underestimated Ruiz just a little. I don't think that Joshua necessarily did, but I do think that Eddie Hearn has so much faith in Joshua that he couldn't possibly envision that someone of the physical stature of Andy Ruiz could destroy his cash cow. But if you look at the fight itself, Joshua fought pretty evenly in the first 2 rounds. Throughout Joshua's career, where he knocked out every single opponent but one, Joseph Parker, he takes his time in the first couple of rounds to get a read on his opponent before finding his opportunities to devastate and stop them in the middle rounds. These first couple of rounds versus Ruiz were not out of the ordinary for Joshua. Ruiz looked good too, moving his head just enough side to side, a little dip action in his head and body, changing levels. Ruiz knows what he's doing in there too. Plus he has faster hands. So Joshua was cautious, as he should have been versus a counterpuncher who throws fast, hard, and accurate combinations. Well, Joshua blasted Ruiz in the 3rd round with a beautiful left hook that put Ruiz on his ass. Ruiz gets up, and you can hear the broadcast team celebrating, saying, "Now watch, this is where Joshua goes and will destroy Ruiz for the finish." Well, Joshua thought and felt the same. He was looking to finish. I think he expected a hurt Andy Ruiz to turtle up, retreat, and go into survival mode. Well, Ruiz's idea of survival mode happened to be the opposite. He walked right up to Joshua and let his hands fly. And Joshua again blasted Ruiz, which made us all think, oh yeah, Ruiz is about to go night-night. But during that heavy and busy exchange, Ruiz popped Joshua on the side of the temple with the left hook, and Joshua never fully recovers. That's what this fight was about. Joshua hits the canvas, gets up, takes a few more hard shots while he's on shaky legs and collapses again. This time, he ignores the referee's orders to walk towards him and instead walks away. And by the way, did anyone catch Michael Buffer before the fight when he goes through the introductions, pauses at referee Michael Griffin's name? That had me a little worried, like, who the hell is this ref? Because the refereeing in Joshua's previous fight versus Joseph Parker was very unfair to Parker, who wasn't allowed to do any work on the inside versus the much taller Anthony Joshua. I'd never seen that referee before, and I haven't seen him since. So in this fight, Michael Buffer, who never makes mistakes when he's doing his job, says, and the referee for tonight, Michael Griffin. I'm like, well, uh-oh. Anyway, referee Michael Griffin turned out to do a really good job here. So Joshua goes down the second time, and his body language was totally telling the ref, feel free to stop this fight because I'm not at liberty to tell you that I quit in front of all these people. Read my eyes because my lips can't tell you what I really want to say right now. Well, the ref bends the rules a little bit here and lets Joshua disobey his orders, which are designed to show the ref that you are in condition to continue. Joshua was just resting up against the corner and wouldn't step forward when the ref asked him to. Well, the fight continues, and this was at the end of round 3. So if you watch Joshua walk back to his corner, he's walking while leaning against the ropes because he could barely hold his body upright, let alone walk a straight line back to the stool. So rounds 4, 5, and 6 are pretty close rounds, with Ruiz slightly winning 2 out of the 3. Joshua spent the 4th round clearing his head, and then the 5th and 6th fighting a little better. Still patient, still respecting Ruiz, but able to land a couple good shots himself. And I think he got a little hurt towards the end of round 6, because in round 7, everything starts to fall apart. And you're suddenly looking at Joshua, who is standing upright, but is getting hit with straight punches and doesn't look like he's in terrible danger, but he's not really defending himself intelligently. It's like his body was still there, but his mind had shut off and forgot how to move his head or to block. It was kind of bizarre. Like, how is this world-class fighter getting hit with these such obvious punches? Ruiz then opens up the can of whoop-ass and starts nailing him with combinations, knocking him down 2 more times before the ref decides enough is enough, as Joshua kept spitting out his mouthpiece and stalling during that knockdown count. His body language said, "I want out," while he maintained a smile, trying to convince the crowd that it wasn't his decision to quit. Well, he wasn't fooling anybody. This looked really bad. So the Eddie Hearn promotional and financial pressure, along with Joshua's internal pride and the public perception, is leading him into a really bad decision in taking the rematch for his very next fight. We've seen this story before, and sometimes the favorite does score his get back in the second fight. But something tells me that the manner in which he lost, the psychological component of quitting now being in the head, not to mention the physical and strategic components of what the hell can he do differently the next time to keep this guy from hitting him hard repeatedly, tell me that this one won't go well for Joshua. I think that he should listen to the past heavyweight greats who've recently spoken up, Lennox Lewis, George Foreman, and recalibrate his game just a little. I don't know if this requires another trainer, but he's got to have some method of handling the adversity of getting hit without going into that nearly defenseless panic mode that we just saw him in here. He is still a tremendous offensive fighter. The ironic thing about this rematch is that it appears that it's Anthony Joshua that's now reduced to having only a puncher's chance at winning this one, which is usually what you would say about an outclassed opponent, the underdog. But let me know what y'all think about this. In later videos, we'll get into Deontay Wilder throwing tantrums and acting out, probably because of all the money that is now lost in the potential super fight between him and Joshua that the boxing world was dying to see. We'll also discuss the potential dangers of Andy Ruiz now becoming famous and how that might play into his work ethic. Personally, I think that things like Stephen A. Smith comparing him to Butterbean and a lot of the public still not taking him seriously will give him even more motivation and add to that chip on his shoulder. I mean, come on, this is a fighter that was on the Mexican Olympic team. Let's have some respect and some perspective. I'll say this, the only person I know of who was bullish enough on Ruiz to believe that he stood a real shot versus Joshua was Richard Dwyer. Look up his boxing channel. He'd been a believer in this guy and has every right to say, "I told you so." He also called it on the Fury win versus Klitschko and believed that Fury would easily beat Wilder. But let me know your thoughts on the fight, on the upcoming rematch, and on the state of the heavyweight division. Please like and subscribe if you haven't. I'm Woog. Thanks for tuning in.